What's up, guys? So I usually don't get involved in these kind of topics, but I feel like things like this are getting kind of out of hand, and I wanted to put my 2 cents in. In today's video, we're going to talk about a growing epidemic in movies, shows, and TV shows and video games. So let's jump into The Boy Who Cried Woke and see how it has affected a recent release of a highly anticipated game. So let's jump into it. In recent history, companies have been injecting diversity into their products, but doing so in a way that is way more harmful than good. Like Dragon Age the Veilguard is a prime example of bad representation. Dragon Age the Veilguard had other problems than just force-feeding gender politics down its players' throats. The lukewarm story, the boring and uninteresting characters, and then throwing gender politics on top of an already not so great game was definitely a recipe for disaster. Now, I know I will probably get some hate for this, but I actually didn't think Dragon Age was a terrible game. There's become this trend recently that something is either the best thing or worst thing ever. You see it in movies, shows, video games.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
But the truth of the matter is there is definitely some gray area. Not everything needs to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. Do I think Veilguard was a great game? No. Have I played worse games? Absolutely. Do I think it was worth the $60+? Of course not. I think it was a mediocre game that the developers decided to inject woke politics into that made the game absolutely tank. I think people could have looked past the Veilguard gender politics had the rest of the game been actually good. But anyways, I digress. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no problem with diversity in games, movies, or shows, but diversity for just the sake of diversity is the problem. And when it's very clear that the only reason that the said company is including diversity is for perceived increased profits. For example, companies putting up the gay pride flag for Gay Pride Month, but only doing it in countries where it's accepted. If you really felt this way, then why not display it everywhere? But it's shown time and time again, when a company values injecting wokeness into their product, the product almost always suffers. Like, if you really wanted to include diversity and representation into your product, then instead of making a character scream out, "I'm trans," in the middle of a scene that has nothing to do with sexuality, maybe, I don't know, write an interesting character who just happens to be trans. It's wild to me that companies so often miss the mark on this kind of thing. Baldur's Gate 3 and Dragon Age Origins had a lot of these same themes, but they weren't poorly received. You know why? Because the game was actually good. Like, hey, this character has a really interesting and intriguing backstory. Oh yeah, and by the way, he's gay. I think most of us don't care about the character's race, sex, or sexuality. All we care about is a well-written and well-thought-out character. No one cares if it's a woman, if they're black, if they're gay. What we care about is when those things are the character. Going woke or wokeness has gone so far that now it's become almost like a buzzword. It's a word that people throw around, and a lot of the time I don't think it really pertains to the topic that they're talking about. If you have a gay person in your game or show, not woke. Having an ethnicity or a person of color in your game, not woke. Having a woman in your game, also not woke. Being educated on how to apologize by misgendering someone in a video game, that's full on woke. And before anyone comes in and says no one thinks like that, no one thinks having a woman or a gay person in your game makes it woke. No, there are literally people that actually think like this. In fact, there is a site that rates the wokeness of games. They literally called Skyrim woke because, quote unquote, an NPC in Whiterun asks you whether the sight of a strong Nord woman offends you. Like, really? Really, that's your criteria for calling something woke? It's insanity. Being woke has strayed so far from the actual meaning that people consider just having a woman, a gay person, or someone of color in your game or show as being woke. This has gotten so blown out of proportion that just having these things in your games or show, you have the risk of the woke mafia going after you. Or I guess I should probably say anti-woke mafia. One such game that is receiving the anti-woke mafia police treatment is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. In case you missed the controversy over the game, there was a tweet claiming that Kingdom Come Deliverance was banned in Saudi Arabia due to an unskippable gay cutscene. Daniel Varva went on to address all of the rumors. I won't read each bullet point, but I'll leave it here on the screen, so feel free to pause the video if you want to read it. And I apologize for how small it is. I had to make it that small in order to fit it on the screen. I'll also post a link to his tweet in the description of this video. One thing I will read though is his final point. Quote unquote, "We don't want KCD to be used as clickbait by people who didn't even play it yet. Some of them sadly turned into exactly the same narrative they pretend to be fighting against. The amount of hateful behavior is really sad and it will damage any cause associated with it." I've got a decent amount of time into the game and I have been thoroughly enjoying it. What I can tell you from my experience is that there are no unskippable scenes. You can skip literally everything and anything. I haven't been presented with any gay or straight romance options yet for that matter, which leads me to believe that there are very specific choices that you have to make to go down that road. And from what I've read online, it's pretty obvious that you're going down that road. And for people to say that gay people didn't exist in medieval times isn't just straight up ignorant. Gay people have existed since the beginning of time. If gay people didn't exist in medieval times, then why were there passages written about gay people in the Bible? Of course they wouldn't be going around holding hands and kissing in public. Vavra even says that, quote unquote, the characters are perfectly aware that it was a forbidden sin. I fail to see an issue with having a choice of your character being gay. Nothing is being forced on the player. I'm a straight male, so I won't be choosing a homosexual romance option, but why should I care if that option exists for someone that does want to pursue it? It's a shame to see this game getting dragged through the dirt, as I am really enjoying it, and I know there are people out there that will boycott the game or refund it simply because some grifter says it's woke. But do yourself a favor, don't listen to me, don't listen to the other guys, play the game yourself, then decide if you think it's woke or not. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing as it does really help with the YouTube algorithm. I make weekly content about various gaming topics like gaming news, game reviews, build guides, stuff like that. Until next time, have a great day/night. See ya.